What's good with y'all? Wait, hold on. What's good with y'all? Sounds. What's good with y'all, man? It's the Thawahgabar for Black Authentic Truth, man. Thank y'all for tapping into this live video. It's gonna be a short live, but it'll be a good live. I'm gonna go over Charlie Kirk. I'm gonna go over Nia Wilson and Iaryna Zaruska, and I'll talk about one of the generals in the ISPK. We'll talk about the power that Black people and brown people have in America that we don't even realize we have. We got power, y'all, that we don't even realize we have in this place. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hey, what is good? Can y'all hear me? It looks like all the audio levels is, they on point. Looks like we're on point, right? Yeah, so I'm gonna get right into it. Well, first, before I get into it, how is everybody's Sunday going? How is your Sunday going? What's the weather like? How you feeling? You getting ready for tomorrow, which is Monday. Is it a holiday? I don't know. I be so tapped out. And because I'm not in the world, a lot of times I don't pay attention to the extra stuff that's going on, like holidays and things of that nature. Yeah, man. So how's everybody going? How is your Sunday going, should I say? My Sunday is going good. Just got through. I'm going a little later today because I did an interview with my brother. He did an interview. So I'm the cameraman. So I set up everything, lighting and all of that. And it was a really good interview from a brother that owns a taco truck and he has his own ranch with animals and everything. So it was like a very interesting story. Very inspirational. It's funny because that's what I want. I want a ranch. I want land. Let me just say, let me give y'all what I really want. Right? This is my dream living situation, my dream home. And I told my youngest daughter this the other day. I said, so it'd be like a compound, right? And you roll in and you have the main house and you have a house over here, a house over there, then further back. Everybody has a house. We'll have animals. We'll have, the lambs, the cows, the chickens. We'll have a pond, a little pond or something where we have fish. We'll have an area for a gym, for workout, and just to walk. And that's my dream. And I told my daughter, I said, so this will be my house. This will be y'all house. You'll have your house. Your sisters will have their own house. And the roads will connect to all these houses. And there will be a perimeter, of course. We have a big gate or whatnot. And I said, so, I'll have a couple other houses, because I might have, a couple more wives. So my wives will have their own house. And my daughter said, Dad, I really want you to get that. I really want you to have your dream. I was like, okay, look at my baby wanting me to have the dream home with all my family on the property, on the compound, a ranch, everybody doing their job, taking care of the animals, gardening, all of that. You know what I mean? But yeah, so this interview I did with this brother, well, I'm sitting there, I'm monitoring everything, but it's very inspiring to hear somebody that's actually doing it. You know what I mean? That it is definitely possible when you see somebody that comes from what you come from and they, find a way to get there. You know what I mean? Very, 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 very possible. Anyway, I'm going to get into this live. I'm going to get into the first video and we're going to break it down. All right. Break it.
And the reason why you don't see that is because no one ever told you what I'm about to drop right now. And the truth is that, walk with me through this. If every Black, Hispanic, and Native American that's in this country Monday morning woke up and said, guess what? We're sick of being persecuted for absolutely nothing. We're sick of getting murdered up and down in the streets of America. We're sick of being threatened for not doing anything. And you said, you know what? We're no longer going to go to work for America anymore. We're going to figure out another way to provide for ourselves and provide for our families. They would be sick. This is the reason why I'm saying this. Because if you don't pick up the trash that's sitting on the curb this upcoming Monday morning, and you decide not to pick it up anymore, then who's going to pick up the trash? The people that's telling you that you on the bottom, they think that they too high. They sit too high in this country to go and collect trash. If you decided that you're not going to go to their hotels and make up the beds and cook the food that's served in the hotels and in the restaurants, that you're not going to no longer go to the restaurants and work in their kitchens and wait their tables and bust their tables, and who's going to serve in the restaurants? If you just separate from America, America would fall. Because all of the jobs that require America to keep moving forward, you do those jobs. You do what they call the menial jobs that no one else would like to do. And I know that what's crossing your mind right now is this. You're saying, well, if I don't go to work this week, what's going to happen? I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. I'm going to lose my car. They're going to kick me out. No, wrong answer. That's not what's going to happen. Because if everyone collectively came back together and said, I'm not paying my car note because I'm not working for you anymore. Let me tell you a secret. They don't have enough people to come and repossess all of the cars that they've sold us. They don't have anywhere to put all of the cars if they did repossess every car that they've sold us. You got to think, man. Really, you're in the power. And if they cut off everyone's electricity, then the utility companies would go out of business. I'm talking about overnight if you stop paying your electric bill. If you stop paying your cell phone bill, everyone collectively, all together, AT&T, Verizon, whatever network that your cell phone is on, they're out of business without you. America needs you, and because of the leadership that you're following, they're not telling you this because they're being paid to not tell you this. They're being paid to not tell you the truth, that you are 110% in the power, but all you have to do is unify. And all I'm saying, if you ponder on what I'm saying, it's going to become crystal clear.
What is being said is something that, first of all, this is General Anya Shalimar in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, a very, very wise brother, a brother that I got a lot of insight and advice from. And even the idea to go into what I went into, which is create Black Authentic Truth. Now, what he's saying is the power that Black and brown people have in America that we don't know we have. The power is the fact that we do all of the menial jobs. We literally make this place run. And if you just think about what they was doing with what they have been doing with ICE and deporting Mexicans and everything, a lot of these farms are really, really struggling. They're going out of business because no one wants to go and pick those vegetables and pick those, do whatever the job was, work in the warehouse, pick vegetables, fruit. No one wants to do that work, right? They can't find any white Americans to go and do that work. They can't find anyone to go and do that work. So jobs like that, when you think about Black people, a lot of Black people work what? Warehouse, truck drivers, bus drivers, security guards. A lot of the jobs that really, really keep America afloat, it's really just Black and brown people that are working these jobs. And if these people said, you know what, I'm not going to work tomorrow. I'm not going to go to work. America would literally be in shambles. The stock market would crash. People would be, those CEOs would be getting on the phone, making emergency calls and trying to figure out what's going on, because we don't really see the power we have, but it sits in our hands. A good example is what happened, in the 60s with the boycott. With the boycott, you see, what got their attention is Black people wasn't getting on those buses. They wasn't spending no money. And so that shut down everything. But that takes unity. That takes people to be on one accord. That takes for Black people to be on the same page. You got to be on the same page for that to happen. But it's a reality. It's a reality. But because we're so brainwashed and we're so conditioned, we think like, man, I can't do that. How am I going to pay my bills? We got that hamster mentality where you going to work, you paying your bills, and you're just trying to stay afloat and take care of your responsibilities and take care of your family. So any little thing scares us. Anything like this scares us to say, all right, everybody tomorrow, do not clock in for work. And our mind goes to, how am I going to survive? What about this? What about that? What about this? And part of that is because of the Black leadership throughout the years have done nothing but, beg instead of demanding things for Black people. Now, when you look at Chinese people, they have an actual government, or should I say they have Chinatowns and they have districts within cities. Black people don't even have that. And you think we should have that. We should have that from all the blood, sweat, and tears and things that we have given for America to be what it is today, but we don't even have that. You can find Chinatowns in a lot of major cities. Black people don't even have that. And we have the area where we live, the poverty-stricken areas, the hood. We have the area, we have the schools where we live that has, books that are years old, but we don't have the resources that we need just to be self-sufficient. Now, if you go back to a time called segregation, Black people were doing actually better than what they were doing, after integration. So we were doing good, and then integration came, and we have been going down. We've been going down economically, education-wise, morally, spiritually. When you look at the family, the Black family, spiritually and morally, morals, what I'm saying? Those type of things, it's in shambles, it's destroyed, right? But the main point of this video is that we have a power that we have never really tapped into on the level where we could really make some changes. We would really get it. We can't get attention, nobody's attention, when we're protesting, when we're out protesting, marching, holding signs. That won't get anybody's attention.
That you pick the trash up.
You know what I'm saying? They expect that. That's expected for when something happens for Black people to go to the streets. Well, at least that's not just Black people, that's everyone. It's expected for people to go to the streets and protest. It's not expected for people to withhold their money, withhold their services, their hard work and labor. That's not expected. And that would shut down all of the major corporations. They wouldn't be able to move. They wouldn't be able to operate. It would be a real panic in America if every Black person, every brown person said, I'm not going to work tomorrow until these demands are met. I hope I'm making sense to somebody. Maybe the general's not making sense. Maybe we're not making sense. You know what I mean? But I think that if this was to happen, the changes that Black people want to see, that Black leaders go to white leaders and beg for, you wouldn't even have to beg for those things. Like all of these programs to help inner city youth and all of these different kind of programs that we beg and say, can you cut this much out of the budget for this and this and that? We wouldn't have to ask for none of that. But because we are the world, we are a part of America, we're in the melting pot, We don't think like that. We are part of the melting pot. Yes, indeed. We've given a lot of, things to this melting pot, but we're the only people that's getting burnt in the melting pot. We're the only people that is the scapegoat, and the finger is pointed at us, even when it ain't us, which I'm gonna get into. I'm gonna get into that. Even when it ain't even black people, they say those niggas over there, them niggas. Yeah, I know that the guy that was the assassin was white, but we gotta do something about those niggas though. So yeah, that's basically that's it on it, the topic on that. We got more power than we actually think we do. Like we literally have more power, but mentally we don't believe that. Mentally, like physically we got all the power, but mentally we're docile. We're the meek. We're the meek of the earth, because we just don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe in what we can do together, unified. We believe in what the people who have oppressed us over a period of time can do for us. So many of y'all know, if you ever been in class, I always talk about the child-parent relationship that Black people have with America. It's like we say they can handle the things that are, big and serious, and we'll just worry about pleasure in the Black community. We'll just worry about, getting minds and having a good time and, partying and going on trips and stuff like that. But those real heavy things of society, we'll let them deal with it. Right? So let me drop that and let me get this this next video.
One person alive today that was a part of slavery.
No, for sure.
Most of these motherfuckers that's claiming that they done been through something may never experience no racism in their life.
But I guess it's the systemic part that we still.
Let me that went a little bit fast, so let me back this up. The brother said it's not one person, one Black person alive that has been a slave or went through slavery.
Ain't not one person alive today that was a part of slavery.
No, for sure.
Most of these motherfuckers that's claiming that they done been through something may never experience no racism in their life.
Now, I'm gonna get to that, and like I always do, I'm gonna help people out. The thing about this is, it's very surprising to see Black people when they talk like this, because me being an Israelite, me being out on the streets talking to people, usually this talking point, usually 99% of the time, this talking point is coming from a white person. So, it's funny when I see Black people talk like this. I'm not surprised. Of course, the Thawahgabar is not surprised. I'm not, right? But a lot of Black people think like this. A lot of, Black people that they more align with, Republicans and conservatives. They more align with that type of frame of thought. You have a lot of Black people like that. Even on a plantation, you had Black people that, thought like the master, that looked down on the slaves that wasn't living in the house. So, there's always a gray area. It is not just black and white in the way our outlooks as far as slavery and racism and the history of, what happened in America. But the thing is, when you think about, when they say that, they're saying that, and I'm talking about white people, when they say that to distance themselves from this horrible act. So once again, it's crazy to see Black people talk about that, right? That have that same talking point. But they want to distance themselves and say, well, I've never had a slave and you were never a slave, which could sometimes it could be offensive to even hear them say that to you, because it's like downplaying your history. But the reality is, when you look at the differences between white folks and Black folks, and let's just say financially, they came out with a study that said that In order for the net worth of a black family to reach that of a white family, it would take 228 years. So there's a huge wealth discrepancy and gap. Now, is that gap because these white families were smarter? Or they worked harder? No. It's there because of what happened in the past. When you look at, I know people will look at black people because, you know, we have a lot of dysfunction in the black community. We have crime. Well, everybody has crime, but that's the one they like to use. We have crime in the black community. We have dysfunction. We have broken homes. But when they look at the black community, they say, well, what's wrong with these people? Like, you know, they look at the black community as though the black community came up yesterday. They don't look at the black community like this is the result of what happened in the past. The point that I'm making is this: whether you're looking at the white community, the Hispanic community, the black community, the Italian community, the Arab community, where they are at today, as far as their morals, as far as their family structure, as far as how, you know, how good they're doing, is based on the past. It's based on the past. So no, black people were never slaves. White people today didn't own slaves. But black people as a group, I'm not talking individuals, because you know there's a bourgeois Negro that'll get up here and say, well, I did good for myself. Why can't you come out to Compton and do the same thing? I'm talking about as a group of people. Black people are where they at because of the past. You look at white people, their family structure, financially and all of that, generational wealth and all that. They're in that position because of the past. I'm talking about a population of people. I'm not talking about individuals, because individuals all the time in every group, every race can do good for themselves. An individual, yeah, we got black millionaires, and you know they like to cherry pick and say, oh, well, look at Oprah Winfrey and look at Michael Jordan and look at. When it comes to celebrities and it comes to millionaires and billionaires in the black community, those people make up less than 1% of the whole population of black people. So that you can't use them as an example of, okay, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. Those are the people that got through. Those are the people who whatever field they were in, they worked hard and they made it. But the disparity between the races is still there. The unemployment rate hasn't changed since like the 70s. So like there's a lot of things I can go into, and I'm probably dragging this, but when you hear someone say that, no, I personally was not a slave. But everything that I'm going through, all of the obstacles that we have to go through as black people today is because of what happened in the past. Where I'm starting from, I'm not in a black society. I'm in a white society. I know black people like to think that we are in America and we mix, but it's not like that. Like you're in a white world. You're a nation within a nation. And kudos to you if you made it. How they say, if you made it. But we are a people that's inside of another nation. So the same goes for them. What I said, no, they never had slaves, but they benefit from white supremacy. They don't even know, you know, they don't know that they benefit for white supremacy. And it was a story I was going to bring out about how they actually do look at names for jobs, and they'll put your application over here just from reading your name, and it looks like a black name. That's white supremacy in the workplace that white people don't even know they benefiting from that. Just because of what your name looks like on paper. That's one form of discrimination, racial discrimination, right? But the point is that Um, the point is that I looked at the Nick Fluentes had Charlie Kirk's number. The point is that these things are indicative of the past. It's crazy to see a black man say something like that. Let me keep playing.
But I guess it's the systemic part that we still.
What's systemic about it?
Systemic racism?
Hmm? Tell me what's systemic about it. I don't see it.
Wait, did they change? What's the thing where you got to hire?
This is one of those things where, you know, when you're talking to somebody that doesn't. This is why education is so important, and for us to get educated as Black people, and just in general, because you'll have people that say things and they kind of don't really know what they're talking about. But because you're not educated, you don't have an answer for it. You know what I'm saying? So he brought up systemic racism. He said, what's systemic about it? Like systemic racism doesn't exist. We just had an example of systemic racism with Navy Federal Credit Union discriminating against Black and Latino applicants who were overqualified in order to get these home loans, and they were denying them. And the investigation came out that they were being discriminated against. That's part of the system. That's systematic racial discrimination. You can't put a finger on systemic racism because systemic racism is not personal. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Systemic racism is not what happens to you personally. Systemic racism is institutionalized. It's in the institutions. It's in the banking companies. It's in the loan companies. It's in college admissions. It's in institutions. So it can never be, when somebody says, how have you been affected by, personally, how have you been affected by racism? Racism is an institution. It's not something personal. Now, racial prejudice and bigotry is personal. Like somebody calling you the N-word, or somebody saying, you going in a restaurant, they saying, ain't no Black people. We don't serve Black people in here. That's a personal experience. That's a person that has been affected personally by racial hatred, bigotry, prejudice, and discrimination. But when you talk about racism or systemic racism, it is big. It's an institution. You can't put your finger on it. In order for people to even find out it's happening, they do secret investigations, or they look at all the numbers and say, hey, you're hiring 80% of white people, and you haven't hired a Black or Hispanic person in 3 or 4 years. What's up with that? They had to make laws in order for things to be fair. So they had to make, equity and diversity laws in order for you to, have an opportunity. That goes back to what I said earlier. You live in a white world where they make laws for you to be equal and get an equal playing field. They have to make laws against their own nature, because the first nature is to say, like anybody would say, I want to take care of my people. I want to have compassion on my people. I want to give my people an opportunity first. If there's something left, they can get the scraps. But that's how it is. So I'm going to wrap this up, y'all. This is the prime example of why we need to be educated on history and understand what really happened and what actually is still happening, so that people can't say ignorant things and you think that they're actually, saying something that is, knowledgeable when it's not. A lot of times people are online just talking. They're just talking and they don't really have an answer or a solution for what is happening or what we see. Now, Black people ain't dumb. It's not like we are faking systemic racism, or we're faking the feeling of being discriminated against or not having all of the opportunities. These things, the numbers reflect that. There's experts that will tell you, yes, it's all in the numbers. But anyway, let me move on because I don't want, I'll keep talking. Sister Barathan said he hates his own people, and this brother believes that black people is just playing the race card and making excuses for our condition. Yeah, there's a lot of black people that have that have a self-hatred, and these type of people, like Charlie Kirk will say, they're Christian, right? They have Christian values and say things like this that is full of ignorance. Let me move on. I want to move on. And I thought I had a picture, but I don't have a picture. Maybe I can pull it up. Let's see. I can pull up a picture of the sister. Y'all just give me a second. Okay. Yeah. I would think they would have a picture online I can get with the young lady that was unalived on the train or the bus recently, and the sister some years ago that was unalived the same way. Okay, here's the one. Let's see if I can save this. And I will go right here. Share the screen. Got 17. All right, there we go. So this is this story. Okay, everybody knows this. This is very recent with the Ukrainian woman that was unalived on the bus, and I believe the video was held for a while, and they decided to release it. There was no outrage over it, but they decided to release it at a specific time. And there's a lot of outrage over this video, and the black man who actually committed the crime, they said he was released from prison a couple of times. And then you had black people on the train that they were blaming because they said they didn't do anything. And so what you had is a rage and heat online. I've seen people say they need to unalive this man with a firing squad. They need to do something about the black people that were in the bus that didn't help her. They need to skin the black man alive and hang him. I mean, I just heard some crazy stuff. And of course, this is also during the time where the assassination of Charlie Kirk happened. So the racial element is very, very raw and strong. Now, when it comes to the sister on the right, now the white woman name, she was Ukrainian. I think she was like 18. Somebody can correct me. Iaryna Zaruska, and then the sister name was Nia Wilson, who actually lost her life the same way, getting off of the train. A white man stabbed her in the neck and her sister. Her sister survived. She died within 3 minutes. Okay. And it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a lot of outrage. Of course, from the racial element, you know how black people is. Black people don't be on that. I mean, it was terrible. It was horrible, but it wasn't as big as this situation. Okay. One of the things that I also recognize is that with all of the racial hatred, epithets, and all of that that people were saying about Black people because of this bus incident, I thought to myself, now this thing didn't happen with Charlie Kirk, and also there was a Colorado school shooting that happened after this video came out. Okay, and even after all of that, I've seen a lot of people still reeling on this story, even though it's very similar to Nia Wilson, right? The point is about this story is that get over it. Get over it. There are evil people in all races. All right. Unfortunately, there is always a racial element when it comes to Black folks and white folks. If there's anything, there's always going to be that because of the history of America. But Nia Wilson's, the perpetrator, he was apprehended. He was, sentenced and all of that. The same will happen to the man that took Iaryna Zaruska's life. That's why I say get over it, because there is evil in the world, but we can't pinpoint and put evil on one race. But if we were going to do that, I think it is one race that is in the lead by far. I'm sorry, but the point is that these are two terrible things that happen to young women. And it's not like it's something that happened to them. Oh, and I forgot to say that. They released a video of the stabbing of Zaruska, but they didn't release the video. They didn't show the video, but I heard or read that it was very graphic also. You can imagine. He came up from behind her and her sister. But these are terrible acts of violence, and this is the world that we live in. So what I would also say is that for young women, like when you're in a public place, because I have seen a video where there's a woman at a bus stop and there's a man behind her. I can't tell if it was a white man or what, but he's behind her and she's looking down at her phone at the bus stop, and he's walking, but he's looking around like he wants to do something, like he wants to grab her, snatch her, or whatever. And she just had the thought of mind to look up and look behind her, and then he played it off and kind of like walked off. So what I would say to young women that are out about in the world today, you on public transportation and you by yourself, you need to pay attention. You know what I mean? A woman, especially a young girl, a petite, small girl, is more vulnerable and an easy target for a lot of deranged people. You know what I mean? So I would say, don't be all in your phone when you're in public. Pay attention to your surroundings. You know what I mean? Pay attention, listen to that first mind, your conscience and your mind to tell you, maybe I should sit here. Maybe I should sit right here where I can see this angle and I can see that angle. I mean, you shouldn't have to do it, but that's the world we live in. But getting back to this situation, even after the Charlie Kirk incident and it came out, it was a young white male, and then the school shooting, even after all of that, you still see the vitriol and the hatred. And I thought to myself, like, it's like there a lot of white people, not all, are hell bent on making Black people the boogeyman and them the victim. They gotta watch out for these Black people. And I thought to myself, it must be very convenient in your mind. I thought about the delusion, like to think like the most dangerous people are Black people. And I said, it must be very convenient to forget history, very convenient to forget the past atrocities, and to say these people are the worst of the worst. Somebody even put a meme made from AI of a picture of a woman on the bus reading a book like the young lady, and white people around her saying like, this is the world. It would have never happened if it was like this, meaning like an all white society. And I thought to myself, really? You mean the people that decimated, down there, made the Native American Indians extinct? The people that decimated and down there made the Aborigines extinct. The people that unalived 200 million Mexicans, Mayans. Are you serious? Are you psychotic? Are you delusional? What? I say this all the time, man. I don't fear Black people. I don't fear Mexicans. Let me tell you something. I grew up, and many Black people are just like me. I grew up, and I'm not even like that. I've had guns put in my face. I've been shot at. I felt bullets whiz by me. I've been in cars that done got shot up. I done been in homes that's been shot up. I mean, the list goes on and on. And I'm not saying that because I'm like that. I'm saying with even all of those experiences growing up in Southern California, I don't fear Black people. My antennas is not up around Black people. It's not up around Mexican people. Some of the most hospitable people to ever treat me good was Mexican people. You know what I think about when I'm out with my family and I'm out in public? I'm thinking about a Kyle. I'm thinking about a Tanner. I'm thinking about, a Brit, whatever names y'all be having. I'm thinking about a white male between the ages of 18 and 60 years old pulling out a firearm and just shooting at everybody. That's what I think about. That's the only thing I would be concerned with in public because of the history, because of the violent history. And so that takes me to Charlie Kirk. That takes me to Charlie Kirk. You understand? Stop this. Let me remove this. I know a lot of y'all probably think like, damn, we going in, but you have to live in reality. That's reality. Life ain't social media. Life ain't the movies. You got to live in reality and what's actually be happening. The chances of some immigrant, quote unquote, illegal alien Mexican coming around and shooting up Walmart while I'm in it, the chances of that is like zero in my mind. Right? Because it's never happened before. But the chances of some white man doing it is very high because it's happened before. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being realistic. That's realistic. That's being realistic. Now let's get to Charlie Kirk. All right. Now, everybody knows what happened. Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and it was ugly. It was ugly.
Are only 13.
Right. It was ugly. The first thought I had when I seen it, I said, these people is about to have a civil war, because that's what it has always been when it comes to you know, politics and just white people. You had the Civil War. It's always been this infighting, and it's always been. You got to think America was started by people who were criminals from Europe, so it's always been this infighting, assassinations. You talk about Abraham Lincoln, and you just go down through the line of presidents, of leaders, of black leaders, and it's just been something that is as American as apple pie. It's been a part of America. That violence, been a part of America. Uh, the violence, the level of violence. And when I seen that, I said, "Well, damn, things are going to get serious." You know. Now, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of theories. A lot of people don't even believe that the guy they got is he was just used because he's very young, and that there's bigger people at play that made that happen. Listen, nothing is off the table. No conspiracy is off the table simply because we know that the way the government gets down. We know the things that they say about what happened with Martin Luther King, what happened with Malcolm X, JFK. The list goes on of the corruption and how they put somebody in position to be the fall guy. We already know that. We know at one point in time it was a conspiracy theory that the government was putting drugs in the black community, and then it came out that it was actually true. During the Ronald Reagan era. So I mean, yeah, you can say conspiracy theories, and but you can't put nothing past a people who have demonstrated their level of evil. I would never do that, but at the same time, I'm not going to fry my brain thinking about what ifs, what could have been. I just know what happened, and it's done. And ironically, he was being asked about mass murders, the numbers of mass murders in America. And his response was, his deflection was to talk about black on black crime, because now at this point, what they have started to do in order to kind of like erase the fact that mass murders are usually white, what they have done now is they're using, gang shootings. They're putting that inside of under the category of mass shootings. Crazy, right? So as he's deflecting to say, are we counting mass shootings or not? And he gets hit with what they saying, a hunting rifle or something like that. And so that was very ironic, because all of the clips that I ever seen of him were kind of like talking about black people. I'm not saying that's the only thing he talked about, but it was kind of ironic to, talk about black on black crime and then get hit with white on white crime, so that was crazy. But anyway, what I want to go into is that, some of the talking points. So one of those talking points, let me just play this.
Black people are only 13% of the population, yet they commit 55% of the murders. Why?
So this is typically the type of clips that you would see of Charlie Kirk. That was typically. Let me see, Mike Sims. Mike Sims, you got to get your grammar together. I'm not going to even dignify your comment by putting it on the screen, but yeah, you got to get your grammar together. You're not making any sense. Matter of fact, this is what we'll do. For anybody that wants to come up here, let me see real quick. Please, studio. No, I don't want to do that. So anybody wants to come up here, the link is in the chat. How about that? So this is one of the talking points Charlie Kirk had. Another talking point Listen, hey Mike, you can come up here. You can come up here. We can have a civilized discussion. You can like articulate your point. How about that? I'm game. So Charlie Kirk, what he would say, he would use those type of talking points. The thing about it is that he also would say, there's another one online where he would say that black people commit more crime than white people. Now I'm going to pull up the FBI statistics from 2024. Okay. So let me get this. So we're going to pull them up. All right. So let's get. So this is the Crime Data Explorer, and this is 2024. The time frame over here says 5 years. Let's go to crime. And we're going to come down here. Crime by age, sex, race, ethnicity. Let me put the percentages up by race. So when you look at crime by race, white people commit 54% of crime. Black or African American, 39% of crime. And this has been a constant for a very long time. Now, when Charlie speaks about black people committing, being 13% committing 52% of the murders, that is specific to murder. When you're talking about crime, white people commit 54% of crime. We're not even talking about the type of crimes, okay? When we go into crimes against children, they're number one. You understand? The point is that black people don't commit more crime than white people. Okay, now let me go here. I'm gonna go to, okay, I was on the crime day. Let's go, let me see, arrest. Go down here, arrest. You got the share numbers. I'm gonna put it in a percentage. Now, white people are arrested 64% of the time. Black people are arrested 28% of the time. So why is this, what's up with this white supremacist narrative that has been pushed, or the top narrative that Charlie Kirk was pushing? Let me go back. So when it comes to the narrative that Charlie Kirk pushed, it was a lie. But why was he pushing it? And you got to think about this. These people, they call them Christian nationalists. They claim to be Christians. They claim to be Christ-like. Now, if every time you hear someone talking like that, let's just say, you typically would think somebody that is like a Christian is going to be saying good things, right? Every time you hear him, he's talking about a black households, 70% single. Black people make too many excuses. Black people commit more crime than white people. And you have to wonder why are you saying that? Black people know what is going on in the black community, right? We know. Hold on one second. Black people know the difference between right and wrong. As a black man, I know right and wrong. I know what is going on with my people. I know the hatred that my people could have for one another. I know the things, the evil things we can do to one another. I know how we can steal from one another, lie, cheat from one another. I know. Why do I need listen, we have listened to white people long enough. Why do I need a white person to tell me about what's going on in my community and tell me how to fix my community? I know how to fix my community. I know the things that we need to do. I know the things that we need to stop doing. We don't need somebody touring the world saying what Black people need to do. We already know that. We've known it for 60 years. Why was not Charlie Kirk talking about what white people need to do? Huh? We know what we need to do. We know the destruction of our communities. We know it. Now I want you to think about this. Think that you're a person, not in America, but you're a person that's just been, you've seen America. You've seen how America was in the inception of America. You've seen how the relationship between Black and white people. You've seen how white people had Black people in slavery. You've seen how when Black people got out of slavery, how white people still terrorized them and burnt down the towns and cities that they built. You've seen how white people went through the Jim Crow era and made it to where Black people had to go to, Black faucets, Black this, Black that, white only this. You've seen how white people lynched Black people and burnt them and dismembered them. You've seen how they bombed Black churches. You've seen how, they would set crosses on fire in front of people's houses. You've seen how the United States government then attacked Black people by putting drugs in their community and then criminalizing the drugs and giving them more time. You've seen that. And then you've seen how Black people later turned to gangs, and you've seen the destruction of Black people. Then in the early 2000s, I'm going to say at 10 with Michael Brown, you've seen an influx of law enforcement unaliving Black people on camera. You're outside of America looking in, and you've seen that. And then think how you would see somebody like a Charlie Kirk or anybody going around telling Black people, you're this, you commit this much crime, you're that, you need to do this. Wouldn't you be like, what? These people are prideful. These people are the devil. How dare them try to critique Black people after all they did? They should be quiet. They should close their mouth. Don't they got enough problems going on in their own community? Why would you even fix your mouth to start trying to point fingers at a people who have been trying to get on up for the last 400 years? Why would you even, what complex or delusion do you have, this superior complex that makes you think that you're the fixer of everyone's problems and you have the answer when you don't even have the answer in your own community? You see, Charlie Kirk had all the answers, except the answer that came and got him on that fateful day. And that's white America. They have all the answers. They have all the answers for Black people, what you need to be doing. You this and that. You're a criminal. You're this, you're that. But they don't never do no self-reflection and look at themselves and look at their own community. Meanwhile, Black people got to take all of that and accept that and not speak out. Even when it's not even our business and our problem, they get mad at Black people for that. It's not, look, most Black people didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was. I only knew who Charlie Kirk was is because of Candace Owens. That's the only reason I knew who he was. Most Black people don't even pay attention to politics. They don't even pay attention to politics, so we don't even know. But then when people start searching and all of these clips are coming up about what Black people don't do, Black people do more crime than white people, what do you think Black people are going to think? You're talking about the people that went through all of this, and now they still have to listen to these people talk down on them. as though they have all the answers. You got a criminal as a president. Like, most black people don't even care about what goes on in politics. They don't, because they're struggling trying to get through life. The regular ups and downs of life got them where they don't even pay attention to the broader world. You go ask a black person about what's going on in Israel and Palestine, most people wouldn't even know. They're so focused about what's going on in their life, how they're going to pay their rent. They don't got time to worry about all of that. And I understand. But you have people like me that pay attention to everything. You have people like me that pay attention to history, that follow the track record, that sees the rap sheet of America. So you don't have nothing to stand on to try to tell black people what they need to do. We know what we need to do. We know what we need to do. You understand? We know the destruction in our communities. We know about the drug dealing. We know. Don't you think I like to see black women twerking and half naked on social media? I don't. I hate it. It's disgusting. You think I want to see black men killing one another? I don't. You think I want to see black people selling drugs to one another? I don't. But sometimes, like I said earlier, when you talk about what happened in the past and you talk about where people are today, sometimes when you look at black people, you have to understand that there is a cause and an effect. This did just start yesterday. You know what I'm saying? We go back 70 years ago, there was no term for called black on black crime. Because you know who was doing all the crime? Mobsters. White mobsters was doing all the crime. Jewish mobsters. Y'all forget about the crime. Y'all forget about the drive-bys, the mobsters and the Tommy guns, the gang violence that America has started off of. Y'all forget about that conveniently. You forget about all of the brutality conveniently. You forget about the Watergate scandal and the Iran-Contra scandal conveniently. Now, these people is wearing suits and ties and they're supposed to be distinguished, but they shipping drugs into black communities. The president of the United States, Ronald Reagan, shipping drugs into South Central Los Angeles. Meanwhile, his wife is running the, Say No to Drugs program, the DARE program. That is diabolical. That's diabolical, y'all. That is so devilish. You know what I mean? Say, listen, we're going to ship drugs into these communities. These people are going to start using the drugs, selling the drugs, getting high. Then we're going to overly criminalize them with, laws that penalize them for having this same drug that we're flying over here into America. This is what we have always been up against. When it comes to black people, listen, man, your only hope is the Most High. What people don't understand and what people don't like to hear is that we have a power. You know what I'm saying? And we are God's chosen people. If it wasn't for that fact, we would already have been decimated. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here because the things that they have done to keep us down is diabolical. I don't think it's ever been done to any other group of people in the modern era. But getting back to this, it's like, I'm objective. And like I said, people, when it comes to the politics, most black people don't even know what's going on. And me being somebody who I'm separate from what goes on in the world anyway, meaning I run my own program, don't celebrate holidays, don't do none of that. Our liberation as black people and fixing ourselves won't come from, laws and policymakers and voting and being Democrat or Republican or whatever you want to call yourself. But I'm objective to all of that. And the thing about it is like, if I say something like about a policy or Donald Trump or something like that, well, white folk will say is, you need to blame the Democrats, or they'll call you a liberal, and vice versa. And it's like, I'm not neither one of y'all. I don't believe in the ideologies of America because I've seen the track record of what it has done. I don't stand on none of that. When I see what happened, I see just white folk. Hear me out. You know how when sometimes black people get upset when they say where they put all black people in a box or something like that, or they say, oh, you hear black people say, oh, black people are not a monolith. Nigga, yes, you are a monolith. Because you get oppressed the same way. You up against the same obstacles. But in that same way, when they do something like this and they're screaming, oh, it's liberals, it's this, it's that, I don't see none of that. I just see the evil that white people have been doing to one another since the beginning of America. Let me make that be clear. I don't see no ideology. I just see the white race. When I look at black people, I don't see no ideology, whether it's a black person that is a Christian, Muslim, a Democrat, a Republican. I just see black people. So you can't swindle me with all of that crap like Democrat, Republican. No, it's the white race. So when that thing happened to Charlie Kirk, I said, I didn't even know too much. I said, I know it's not one of us. I didn't even think about the idea that it was in Utah and all that. I said, that's what they do to one another. That's what they've been doing. They do that to one another, and they do that to everyone else. They did it to their presidents. They did it to our black leaders. You know what I mean? In general, I'm just saying in general, I already knew. Now you want to get specifics, or this assassin, he was a Democrat, this assassin was a Republican, that's on you. But what I'm saying is, I look at it as a nation of people, as a group of people, and I look at the track record. This is something that they had always done. You know what I'm saying? But in closing, we don't need, if a white person wants to give black people, if they really want to help black people, then start off like this. You got to say it like, I could never know your struggle because I'm not you. I can't look at a piece of paper and read statistics and say, this is going to fix you because I'm not you. But if you please would, take my suggestion, I would say this. Not to come down and say, this is what black people need to do. You do this much. They said that man was a Christian. That don't even I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in that. But you would think they would speak with more compassion, with more empathy. You would think that's how they would speak. But see, that's the problem I see in the big picture of the relationship between white people and black people. White people lack empathy. And that's not all of them, because you do have white people that do have empathy and they will say what it is. But the majority of them lack empathy, and they have an opinion that is coming from a lack of empathy. So as a black person, when you hear it, it's very, it sounds very racially charged and very cruel. It's like you don't want to take into account nothing that we've been through. You don't want to take into account no history and nothing. You don't want to take into account how our communities are over-policed, how police lie. You don't want to take into account none of that. You don't want to take into account how the government has tried to destroy us. You don't want to take into account none of those things, right? You're just looking at it like black people came this way overnight because you lack empathy, because you lack a historical context. And a lot of people are very ignorant to history. You'd be surprised, especially, they don't teach nothing in the schools anyway, as far as history is concerned. But, maybe I can be naive a little bit to think that because we live in a time where you literally have a computer in your hand called a smartphone that people could just look things up and learn, but it's not like that. It seems like people are even more ignorant in this day and age to history and to, what's really going on. So Bruce said, authentic. I'll give you authentic Black people, and I'm white. The majority of Black folks love Jesus. That's authentic, and that's a fact. That's definitely a fact. The reason why Black people love Christ so much, and they're so into Christianity, is because Black people are God's chosen people. They're just more spiritual. You ever heard them say, call Black people, back in the day, they used to call Black people, say, hey, soul brother, because Black people just have so much soul. You know what I mean? And even brother, the term brother, which is all over the Bible, that's how Black people naturally talk to each other. What's up, brother? How you doing, brother? You know what I mean? But we're spiritual because it's in us. Now, are we correct in what we follow? To a T, but overall, no, because we have inherited the religion of Christianity that comes from the Roman Empire, which is false. And that theology, which Black people were indoctrinated in on a plantation. That's why the things that you see happen in the Black church, as well as all churches, happen as far as pastors sleeping with men's wives, child molestation, a host of different things that, quote unquote, people that go to church on Sunday shouldn't be doing, they do, because they don't actually follow the Bible correctly. They follow the Bible according to a religion that was man-made in Rome. But overall, Black people are definitely very spiritual, and they love Christ. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people can attest to the spirituality of Black people. And when anything's going wrong, Black people will pray. You know what I mean? That's one thing they will do. I'm not saying anybody can't be spiritual. I'm just saying that Black people are very. What people do you know that would be enslaved and, be enslaved? And I'm gonna end with a story. I'm gonna end with a story from of that time period. What people you know that would be enslaved and still pray for the country that enslaved them? Still pray and forgive the people that enslaved them and had them, in subjugation. Like, how can I say this? When you think about the Jewish people, they still hold their disdain for the descendants of the Nazis to this day. They still bring those people to court. If they find a Nazi that is, can I even say that if they find somebody I'll say, if they find a Yahtzee and he's still alive and he's 99 years old with an oxygen tank, they will still bring him to court and, judge him. There's no statute of limitations on murder. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? But what you see with Black people is that they forgave. I mean, if that ain't like sweet Jesus, I don't know what is. They forgave and they got on and they tried to move on about their lives. They forgave. You have to be God's chosen people to do something like that, because most of these nations are not going to forgive. They're going to seek vengeance and justice. They're going to seek it out. But we are the meek. And the meek shall inherit the earth. I pray you understand. Now, there's a story I want to talk about that came to mind when this comes out of the book called This book is called When I Was a Slave, Slave Narratives. Okay. I got about 3 books full of narratives of my ancestors talking about their experience. But anyway, I'll get into this story. Now, this story was of a slave named Zeke. And one day, Zeke was caught out in the back praying. The master came in and he heard Zeke praying. And Zeke was praying to pray. He was saying, asking the Lord to please, put it on his master to let him free, to give him his freedom. Well, they said that the master took Zeke down into the forest, and the master came back and they didn't see Zeke anymore. On the master's deathbed, when he was about to die, he was crying and saying that, he's going to hell. He said, why? He said, because on that day, he took Zeke down there and he killed Zeke. He killed Zeke for praying to the Lord for his freedom. I want you to think about what type of people you're dealing with. He killed that brother for praying. You understand? I say that to say, we, like what I had just said about, we are God's chosen people. You know what I'm saying? But also, he got mad at him for praying. You fast forward to 2025, they get mad at you for talking about the history of your people. They get mad at you for complaining about oppression. They get mad at you for going in the streets and protesting and crying out for justice when some officer killed an unarmed black man. They don't feel empathy. They don't feel compassion. They get angry. I'm about to wrap it up, y'all. I appreciate everybody that's been rocking with me tonight. I know I'm going a little later. I'll be back. Maybe I'll go Wednesday. Look for me Wednesday night, around Wednesday evening, around, let's just say 4 o'clock Pacific time. 4 o'clock Pacific time. All right. And of course, I'll be back next Sunday. I appreciate all y'all. I love y'all. Y'all stay safe. You know what I mean? Get your rest. I know tomorrow is Monday. People got to go to work. People got to make it happen. Until then, y'all keep it black and authentic. This is Black Authentic Truth. Peace.